What's far less discussed, but equally powerful, is what successful people never do. The pitfalls they avoid, the traps they recognize, and the time-wasting activities they refuse to entertain. These things are just as important, if not more so, than the habits they build. Why? Because success is as much about elimination as it is about addition. So I want you to think about your own life as we go through this. Be honest with yourself. Are there habits, patterns, or choices you've made that might be holding you back? Because here's the deal. The first step to success is awareness. You can't fix what you won't face. And once you face it, you can change it. We're going to cover 12 things that successful people never do. 12 things they consciously avoid, reject, or eliminate. As I go through each one, I want you to reflect on your own experience. Are you guilty of any of these? Are you ready to make a change? Because when you stop doing these things, you open the door to new possibilities. You free yourself to focus on what truly matters. So the first thing successful people never do, they never let fear control them. Fear is one of the first things that successful people refuse to let control them. Now, we all feel fear. It's as human as breathing. But here's the key. Successful people don't let it dictate their actions. They acknowledge it, they face it, but they don't allow it to take the wheel. That's the difference. Fear isn't an obstacle for them. It's a challenge to be met, a signal that they're stepping into something new and worthwhile. Think about it. How often has fear held you back? Maybe you had an idea you wanted to act on, but fear whispered, what if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if it doesn't work out? That whisper can be enough to stop most people in their tracks. But successful people, they push past that whisper. They know that fear is temporary, but regret lasts a lifetime. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not about being fearless. Nobody is fearless. Even the most successful people feel fear, but they've learned to act in spite of it. That's what courage is. It's not the absence of fear. It's moving forward even when fear is present. And the amazing thing about courage, the more you practice it, the stronger it gets. Every time you take a step despite being afraid, you weaken fear's grip on you. So when fear strikes, break it down. Ask yourself what you're really afraid of. Is it failure? Is it judgment? Is it the unknown? Once you identify the fear, it becomes more manageable. Then take action, any action, no matter how small. Because action is the antidote to fear. It's like flipping on a light switch in a dark room. The fear might still be there, but it's no longer paralyzing. Fear, at its core, is just a thought, a projection of what might go wrong. But what if you shifted that thought? What if, instead of asking what happens if you fail, you started asking what if you succeed? Successful people make this shift. They choose to focus on the opportunity rather than the obstacle, the reward rather than the risk. It's not about ignoring the possibility of failure. It's about refusing to let that possibility define your choices. Ask yourself, what's the fear that's been holding you back? Be honest with yourself. Write it down if you need to. Then ask yourself what the first step is that you can take to confront this fear today. Because here's the truth. Fear only has the power you give it. The moment you face it head on, it starts to lose its strength. This is what successful people understand, and it's why they refuse to let fear control them. They know that fear is simply part of the journey, not the destination. It's a challenge to overcome, not a reason to stop. And when they move through fear, they discover something incredible on the other side: growth, confidence, and the life they were meant to live. So, successful people have learned to keep fear in check. But here's what else they've learned. They've learned to develop a strong stance against excuses. Excuses are another thing successful people never allow to take root in their lives. Now, excuses are tempting, aren't they? They give us an easy out, a way to explain away our failures or justify why we didn't follow through. I didn't have enough time. The circumstances weren't right. It's not my fault. But here's the truth. Successful people don't buy into excuses. They reject them outright. They know that excuses might feel comforting in the moment, but they're ultimately destructive. Why? Because every excuse robs you of your power. When you blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck, you're saying that you're not in control. And that is the fastest way to lose your momentum. Successful people take the opposite approach. They take responsibility, full responsibility, for their actions and their outcomes. Even when things go wrong, they ask what they could have done differently. What's within their control? That shift in mindset makes all the difference. Successful people understand that excuses waste time. Think about it. How much energy do we spend justifying why something didn't happen? All that energy could be used to fix the problem, find a solution, or take the next step. But when you get caught up in excuses, you're stuck in the past, rehashing what went wrong instead of focusing on what's next. There's another layer to this that I had to learn early on. Excuses can become a habit. The more you use them, the easier it gets to fall back on them. But successful people break that habit early. They train themselves to replace excuses with action. If something doesn't go as planned, they don't waste time pointing fingers. They ask what the next step is. They ask how they can course correct. That mindset keeps them moving forward, no matter what obstacles arise. Here's a tough question that you got to ask yourself at some point. Have you been making excuses in your life? Be honest. Whatever it is, I want you to challenge it. Ask yourself, is the excuse really valid? Or is it just fear in disguise? Because that's often what excuses are, a way to avoid discomfort, risk, or effort. Successful people don't let the excuses of others derail them. They surround themselves with people who take ownership, people who inspire and challenge them. If they're around someone who constantly makes excuses, they don't absorb that energy. They set boundaries, staying focused on their own path. So how do you eliminate excuses from your life? It starts with awareness. Pay attention to the language you use. Are you saying things like, I can't because of this, or if only I had that? Those are red flags. The next step is to flip the script. Instead of saying, I can't, ask yourself, how can I? Instead of focusing on obstacles, focus on solutions. It's a simple shift, but it's incredibly powerful. Remember, excuses might explain why you're not where you want to be, but they'll never get you where you want to go. Taking responsibility, on the other hand, puts you back in the driver's seat. It gives you the power to change, to grow, to move forward. And that's exactly what successful people do. They own their journey, every step of the way. Next, the third thing successful people never do. They never lose focus. Focus is the cornerstone of progress. Successful people understand this deeply. They know that their energy, their time, and their attention are limited resources, and they guard them fiercely. They don't let themselves get pulled in every direction. They don't allow distractions to scatter their efforts. Instead, they choose what matters most and focus on it with relentless determination. How often do you find yourself starting one task only to jump to another before finishing the first? Maybe you're in the middle of working on a goal, but a phone call or some other idea pulls you off track. That's normal, but it's one of the biggest obstacles to success. Because every time you lose focus, you lose momentum. And momentum is what turns small efforts into big results. The secret is focus. Successful people choose their priorities carefully. And once they've chosen, they commit. They say no to distractions, even to good opportunities, because they know that not everything deserves their attention. They don't confuse being busy with being productive. They understand that real progress comes from concentrated effort on the things that truly matter. Here's the key. You have to watch out for distractions. They're everywhere, aren't they? They come in the form of interruptions, urgent but unimportant tasks, or even your own wandering thoughts. Successful people don't let distractions derail them. They've learned to say no to others and to themselves. They set boundaries. They schedule time for deep focused work, and they protect that time as if their success depends on it. Because it does. Here's another thing successful people do. They create clarity. Focus is impossible if you don't know what you're aiming for. That's why they define their goals with precision. They don't just say they want to be successful or they want to make more money. They set specific, measurable targets, and they break those targets into actionable steps. When you're clear about what you want, staying focused becomes much easier. Another common trap is multitasking. Now, multitasking might feel productive, but it's not. Trying to do multiple things at once actually reduces efficiency and increases mistakes. Successful people know this. They focus on one thing at a time, giving it their full attention before moving on to the next. That's how they produce work of the highest quality and maintain their momentum. But focus isn't just about cutting out distractions. It's about managing your energy. Successful people understand that focus requires stamina, and stamina requires self-care. They don't burn the candle at both ends. They take care of their health, get enough rest, and build routines that support sustained focus. They know that a tired mind is a distracted mind, so they make choices that keep them sharp. Ask yourself, what's pulling at your attention right now? Is it something that truly matters, or is it a distraction in disguise? Are you saying yes to things that don't align with your goals? If so, it's time to reevaluate. Start by identifying your top priorities. Those few things that will have the biggest impact on your success. Then, eliminate or delegate anything that doesn't fit. Remember, focus isn't just about doing more. It's about doing less, better. It's about choosing quality over quantity, depth over breadth. That's how successful people make progress. They stay locked in on what matters day in and day out until the results come. Next, the fourth thing successful people never do. They never dwell on the past. The past is a powerful teacher, but successful people know it's not a place to live. They never dwell on it. Whether it's a failure that stings or a victory that makes them a little too comfortable, they don't let the past define their present or dictate their future. They treat the past as a lesson, a chapter that's already been written, not as a script they're bound to repeat. Think about it. How often do we replay the same memories over and over, wishing we could go back and change something? Maybe it's an opportunity we missed, or a mistake that still haunts us. Or on the flip side, maybe we keep clinging to a past success, telling ourselves that we've already done something great, so we don't need to do more. Both are traps, and successful people don't fall into them. Now let's be clear. Successful people don't ignore the past. They reflect on it. They learn from it, but they don't linger there. They don't let it weigh them down like an anchor. Instead,